family to join us. Ah, here we are. Welcome home to the Monterey Center for Spiritual Living, this place that we call home because it truly is everything that there is for us in all of our ways that we show up. And as we continue our global theme for this year, for 2021, Timeless Wisdom, Evolutionary Vision, we are aware that this is taking us back to our roots, keeping us connected with all that there is. And our theme for the month of May is Holy, Holy Uprising. And last week we introduced this theme, and we offered some definitions, especially for holy and uprising. Holy, the first holy is spelled Wholly, and this means that it is complete, nothing is missing. And the other holy that we're probably more familiar with, the Holy, means that which is sacred. And then uprising metaphysically means a new vision. So this holy, holy uprising is bringing us complete circle into a new vision for our lives. And our message for today is revolutionary love. We're celebrating Mother's Day today. Mothers represent the feminine face of spirit, and how fitting this topic, revolutionary love. And of course, we know that every day is Mother's Day. It doesn't require a special day set aside. Every day is Mother's Day. I saw this quote that resonated with me, and it says, "A mother's love is more beautiful than any fresh flower. A mother's love is more beautiful than any fresh flower." Now, I bring fresh flowers into my living space, and this quote reminded me that fresh flowers wither, lose their blossoms, and eventually die. A mother's love, though, is unchangeable, and it can be described as revolutionary with a wide range of expressions. We see the gentleness and the nurturing and the kindness. And the range can escalate rather quickly to that of an upset mama bear when one of the cubs, when one of the mother's treasured beings is threatened. I know I certainly experienced that in my relationship with my mother, and I have seen it in other expressions. And so today we actually salute mothers who demonstrate unconditional inclusion. Pause on that for a moment. Mothers demonstrate unconditional inclusion. And they demonstrate this in all of the ways that they show up in our lives. It could be our biological, our birth mothers, our grandmothers who step into that role, the aunties who mother us, the cousins who mother us, the foster mothers who open their homes to us, sisters who step into that role, our play mothers that become our confidants. Some things that we can't say to our mothers, we have that play mother as the confidant. And the mothers who nurture and love our fur babies, our little people who wear fur coats, as a friend of mine refers to them, and additional roles that I may not have included. We salute mothers this day. And we also salute the men, the masculine face of spirit, who stand in that mother role, recognizing their nurturing and compassion and unconditional inclusion for the lives that they shape and mold. And we remember that we are both masculine and feminine in our creative expression as divine, individualized expressions of spirit. And so I just want to set a little context for today's message. Revolutionary love. Revolutionary love is committed to a holy, that which is whole, complete, and missing nothing, a holy, that which is sacred, revolutionary act. And all of this exudes grace, compassion, boldness. It calls us out of our comfort zone, and we engage it in a level where we walk the walk by balancing love and law. Now, this is a key point. Our engagement is not necessarily out loud. It shows by the way we live our day to day experiences. So, the revolutionary act of love is not necessarily out loud, but it does show in the way that we live our day to day experiences. We've all heard the expression that your behavior, the way you show up in the world, speaks much louder than the words that come out of your mouth or out of our mouths. And so we turn to the guidance from our evolutionary statement in the Centers for Spiritual Living Global Vision. And our statement for today says, we envision a world in which each person has enough food, a home, a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. We envision a whole culture, a worldwide culture, in which forgiveness, whether for errors, injustices, or debts, is the norm. Think of this again. We envision a world in which each person has enough food, a home, and a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. Michael Bernard Beckwith offers us a little amplification on this statement, and he says, there is a lie that acts like a virus in the mind of humanity. And that lie is there's not enough to go around. There's lack and there's limitation. There's just not enough. The truth is that there is more than enough to go around. There's more than enough creative ideas. There's more than enough power. There's more than enough love. There's more than enough joy. All of this begins to come through a mind that is aware of its own infinite nature. This is bringing us back to the remembering of who we are, the essence of our being. This awareness comes through a mind that is aware of its own infinite nature. There is enough for everyone. If you believe it, you can see it. If you act from it, it will show up for you. This is the truth. And from the timeless wisdom of our science of mind principles, our core concepts, and our values, Ernest Holmes offers this. But faith without works is dead. We should not only pray, we should act, each contributing the best we have to the common purpose, each willing to make any necessary sacrifices. For the whole world, when the whole world works together and it prays together, a great moral and spiritual power and actual soul force will penetrate the whole world, helping to bring confidence and calm, judgment and right action until the crisis shall have passed. And he adds, freedom need never be ashamed of itself, nor liberty bow to despair. God is always on the side of right, and faith will always conquer fear. And so let us establish a few working definitions for the remainder of our time, starting with revolution. Revolution is a fundamental change in the way of thinking about or visualizing something, a change of paradigm. Revolutions in consciousness bring change to us in the systems and the institutions that shape our experiences. Revolutions in consciousness bring change to us and the systems and institutions that shape the experiences of us all. And then revolutionary love. It invites us into a way of being, a way of thinking, a way of feeling, and a way of acting that is rooted in love for one another. Notice the action words in this definition. Revolutionary love is a way of being, a way of thinking, a way of feeling, and a way of acting that is rooted in our love for one another. It is in this rising up our consciousness that we rise up in revolutionary love for ourselves, for each other, and for the wholeness of life itself. And I offer these illustrations. The first one is revolution. Science of mind as a philosophy offers tools for change, changing the way that we think and changing the paradigms within our own lives, tools for transformational change. The revolution is when we see power and we see life altering changes in our personal lives. We also see these great changes in paradigms and leaps in consciousness happening at a collective level. The collective consciousness is always happening. The collective consciousness is always changing. Revolutions and the steps in the collective consciousness are rare and sacred times in which we're all changing rapidly together. So you'll see that there are two types of revolutions that are taking place when we view the science of mind teaching as a philosophy. The revolution that we see within our personal lives is powerful and life altering. And the revolution that we see collectively brings about great changes in the paradigms and leaps in consciousness that bring us into these sacred moments, these rare and sacred moments where we experience change happening together. Ernest Holmes reminds us that the spiral of life is upward and that evolution carries us forward and not backward. Eternal and progressive expansion is its law, and there are no breaks in its continuity. The second illustration this morning is love. And here we view science of mind as a theology. And as a theology, it is a deep belief in oneness, the fact that we're all one, we're all interconnected, and we're all interdependent. And I like this quote from, excuse me, from Valerie Carr in her book, See No Stranger, a memoir and manifesto of revolutionary love. And she writes, love is more than a feeling. Love is a form of sweet labor, fierce, bloody, imperfect, and life-giving. A choice we make over and over again. Love is sweet labor. Love can be taught, modeled, and practiced. This labor engages all of our emotions. Joy is the gift of love. Grief is the gift of love. Anger protects that which is loved. And when we think we have reached our limit, wonder is the act that reminds us to love. When we think we have reached our limit, wonder is the act that reminds us to love. And when we realize this deeply, love can become the natural way we relate to the world. As Valerie Carr's quote illustrates, love is more than just a feeling or an emotion. Love brings us into relationship with ourselves, with others, and even with our perceived enemies. And through that, love brings us into powerful ways of acting for people outside of ourselves. So you see, there's a link here. Love, this all-encompassing, providing evidence of spirit, is more than just about me. It's more than just about each one of us individually. Love brings us into a relationship with ourselves, with others, and with our perceived enemies. And it is through love that we engage in powerful ways of acting for people outside of ourselves. It is through this love that we yearn to more deeply know one another. It is through this love that we are motivated to fiercely protect one another. And it is through this love that we grieve deeply when we lose another. And it is through this same love that we find our way back to another. So the circle of love is always bringing us back to the point where we find our way back to another, back to this home place where we are motivated to act, to protect, to grieve deeply, and to find our way back home. And then our third illustration this morning is revolutionary love. And this gets to the heart of our topic. Revolutionary love happens when we bring science of mind philosophy of co-creation and revolutionary leaps in consciousness together with the science of mind theology of oneness and the interconnectedness and the natural love that comes with this. So we're bringing together the philosophy and the theology into this place of connectedness and natural love. Revolutionary love brings a collective change through our love for one another. It is bold, and it asks us to act on behalf of ourselves, of those we love, and those we have not yet learned how to love. You notice in this that there's a recurring theme that love, that being a part of the revolution and then bringing this revolutionary love together is an invitation to bring everyone in. Those that we perceive as enemies, those who may have wronged us in some way, and those we have not yet learned how to love. So the spiral of life is continually upward. So we're bringing in everyone into this process. Revolutionary love is the choice to enter into the wonder and labor for others, for our opponents, for ourselves, in order to transform the world around us. And remember, I cited Ernest Holmes from our Timeless Wisdom, where he says, "For if the whole nation works together and prays together, a great moral and spiritual power and actual soul force will penetrate the whole world, helping to bring confidence and calm judgment and right action until the crisis shall have passed." And so, this revolutionary love is the great work of our lives. It is not a formal code or a prescription. It is an orientation to life that is personal and political, rooted in joy. And I invite you to focus on this. Loving ourselves, loving only ourselves is escapism. Loving only ourselves is escapism. Loving only our opponents is self-loathing. Loving only others is ineffective. All three of these practices together make love revolutionary. And revolutionary love can only be practiced in community. So we're continually being invited to be in communion, to be in community with one another. And of course, the laboratory of our individual homes is a great starting place for all of this. Because again, if we're only practicing love for ourselves, this is escapism. If we're only loving those who oppose us, then this is self-loathing. And if we're only loving others, if we're only always giving out and never opening to receive, it is ineffective. This is the great work of our lives. This work brings us into a state of love, a direct experience of the divine. And so each time we act through evolutionary love, each time we are moved to love ourselves enough to say, enough is enough. Every time we love another fiercely enough to protect them, to fight for their dignity, to come into a deeper relationship with their struggles and their pain. Every time we allow this same love to bring us into a state of true wonder and curiosity with those we have made an enemy, we are in a state of love and we're in a space of divine love. And I take us back to our statement from our global vision statement for this morning that says, we envision a world where every person has enough food, a home, and a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice. We envision a worldwide culture in which forgiveness, whether for errors, injustices, or debts, is the norm. This is our call to be and to experience and to act as revolutionary love. And I've been offering spiritual questions for us to reflect on during the week. And so our spiritual practice questions for this week, and I've asked our tech team to place these in the chat, and they will also be in the comments section on our Facebook page. So our spiritual practice questions for the week are, what does a world where each person has enough food, a home, and a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice, what does this mean to me, and how may I create more of it? What does a world where each person has enough food, a home, and a sense of belonging, a world of peace and harmony, enfranchisement and justice mean to me, and how can I create more of it? Practice question number 2. How does faith without works is dead, or in some of our science of mind jargon, treat and move your feet? How does this apply to my life? How does it apply to creating a world that works for everyone exactly where they are? How does faith without works, or how does treat and move your feet, which means pray and act, how does this apply to my life? And how does it apply to creating a world that works for everyone right where they are? And then our third question, in what ways do I perpetuate an idea of separation when it comes to thinking about others, when it comes to thinking about the whole? In what ways do I perpetuate an idea of separation when it comes to thinking about others and when it comes to thinking about the whole? Remember, the whole is inclusive. There are no others when we are practicing wholeness. How can my actions more align with the belief that love brings us into relationship with ourselves, with others, and even with our perceived enemies? So all of this is bringing us back into this circle, back into this idea that my actions and my beliefs, centered and grounded and rooted in love, bring me back to a relationship with myself, with others, and even those that I perceive as the enemy. And our affirmation for the week is, I am an ambassador of revolutionary love. I am an ambassador for revolutionary love. And so let's model this unconditional, inclusive, revolutionary love of our mothers, or those that represented a mother figure in our lives, and boldly declare our affirmation, I am an ambassador of revolutionary love. And as we turn within and pray together, I invite you into that place of stillness, into that place of reflection on this idea of love, knowing that love is the spiritual essence of who we are. Love is another name among the myriad of names for God, for the source, for creative energy, for however it is that we identify the spiritual magnificence within our lives. And it is from this place of love that I affirm and declare this morning that we're all united in the oneness and the wholeness of all life. And united in this wholeness, there are no others. And so I speak my word for radical inclusion, knowing that I am an ambassador for radical love, for radical inclusion, and that this is the formation of my life. It is the very essence that I live my life from. Embracing this as a truth for myself, I embrace it for all people, knowing that at the deepest core level, each one stands for love. Each one stands for peace. Each one stands for wholeness. Each one stands for harmony. Each one stands for unconditional inclusion. And so, knowing that the law only says yes to the demand that is placed into it, we know that love is what propels the law into action. So, whatever it is that we declare that we wish to be and experience in our life, the law says yes. Our love, our expression of love, our remembering that love is all there is what propels that law into action. And the demonstration outpictures in the way that we live our lives. Many of us may have heard the expression to walk softly on the earth. And that is another way of saying we're not required to live out loud. We walk softly on the earth, experiencing love and compassion and expressing this love and compassion because it becomes the very essence. It is the very essence. We remember that it is the very essence of who we are. And so I speak my word this morning also, just propelling this revolutionary love into action for everyone who is experiencing a transition in their lives. Whether it is the transition of a loved one who has moved into the next chapter of this great adventure called life, whether it's a transition into a different housing arrangement, a transition into right livelihood, a transition from one experience that is ending and may not be ending on a positive note, but know that love is that bridge that carries us over into that next experience of joy and prosperity and abundance and happiness and all it is that the heart desires. And may we always remember that the unconditional inclusivity of the love of our mothers and those that represent mother figures in our lives is too that bridge over troubled waters, as the expression is, to take us to that higher ground where we know, and we know without a doubt, with every fiber of our being, that love is all there is. In great gratitude for this and so much more, I give thanks for our time together. I give thanks for all of the beautiful expressions that have joined us locally as well as virtually, knowing that there is no time and space and spirit, and that we're all connected. For this, I am grateful, and so it is. And now it is time for us to participate our in the law of circulation, another way of demonstrating and expressing our love. And we have an affirmation statement that says, I recognize the presence of God within as the source of my abundance. Out of my abundance consciousness flows everything that I could desire in life. With gratitude and thanksgiving, I now participate in the flow of uninterrupted abundance. I release this visible substance as an outer symbol of my inner supply into the physical world. This prosperous experience is evidence of my abundance consciousness. And again, in deep, deep gratitude and appreciation for each one who contributes to the center, we thank you. We thank God for you and for your contributions. And the ways to give are on our screen. You can mail a check to our center at 400 West Franklin Street, Monterey, California, 93940. Our secure website, montereycsl.org. Click the donate button. And you may also text to give at 831-246-9694. And so we are grateful for those who have joined us virtually, and we invite you to come back next week, where we are continuing our theme of Holy, Holy Uprising. And the message next week is, this too is God. So you want to tune in to see how this unfolds. You know, this too is God. And we may question, is God in this? But this too is God. So come back next week and we continue our time together. Thank you. We love you. We appreciate you. And we thank God for you.